Hello, the games are over, but we've still got a lot to talk about. Welcome to the Fastest Losers. I'm Alex, as always.
I'm Chris, as always.
And then we've got our guests, Dr. Dan O'Connor and Kyle Scott.
Good evening.
So yeah,
Well,
lots to go through. We last streamed on Tuesday, so we've got everything from Wednesday to Sunday of the 2026 Winter Olympics to get through, as well as our closing thoughts, basically. So, Chris, do you want to jump in on the one alpine skiing event we have left, which was the women's slalom?
yes, yeah. It was very lucky that they got it done on that Wednesday because the weather was atrocious the next day, so they would have not been able to do it. So it was the last one, and I was really pleased that Michaela Schifrin finally won because it was like I don't know what the press would have been like in America and elsewhere on social media had she not won it, having not won any medals last time out in Beijing, and having not won this gold since Sochi when she was 18. So yeah, to get that 12-year, I think it's the longest gap between somebody reclaiming a gold medal, 12 years at the Winter Olympics. So yeah, she did it, and she did it by 1.5 seconds, which was one of the biggest margins ever as well, I think. So yeah, I'm pleased that she did it because she got rid of those demons, and it was very kind of the way she celebrated was very kind of low key at the start because I think she was just thinking about everything that she's been through and all that, and yeah, it was a nice moment, and it was good that the silver medalist was Camille Rast, who was the second best this year on the World Cup, so it was like, oh, the best two actually are the best two at the Olympics, which doesn't always happen. And then it was Anna Sven Larsson of Sweden who kind of not got a surprise bronze, but she wasn't maybe expected to get on the podium, but especially even of the Swedes when they had Sarah Hector in there as well, and a lot of them didn't finish that second run. Especially Lena Dürr, the German, 34 years old. You think she did this in the giant slalom. She was second after the giant slalom, second after the slalom in the first run, then just tanked it. She straddled that first gate. It's the worst. I guess a skier's worst nightmare is to straddle gate one in the slalom, and then obviously it might be her last Olympics, at that age. So it's kind of tough because she had two medal chances and she didn't take either of them in her second run. But on the whole, it was a pretty good slalom. Nice way to finish the alpine skiing program.
Does somebody have the stream going on in the background? I can hear myself.
Oh, I have a little bit. Yeah, only quietly though. It was only on one volume
It was
on
very
my
quiet,
phone.
but no, it's fine. That might be it. It's gone now. But yeah, it was an exciting event. It's actually, of course, when you actually track the story of her career, it's you can completely understand how she hasn't won this since 2014. But it is still shocking to think that yes, despite her, I mean, you've referred to her as the greatest of all time, Chris, and
Yeah.
yet this is only her second gold in the slalom.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, it's weird because even when you compare like Lindsey Vonn's not got that many Olympic medals either. In fact, I think Julie Mancuso is still the most decorated American alpine skier because she just got loads of silvers and bronzes, and like, she got one gold, I think. But yeah, I guess with Schifrin having got slalom in 2014, giant slalom gold in 18, and then nothing in 19, and then obviously they've taken the combined away now, so she hasn't got a chance to win a medal in that. But because she transitioned. I know because obviously her father died between Pyeongchang and Beijing, and then she tried to transition to be a complete skier, doing the downhill, the Super G, and everything, and that just didn't work out for her in Beijing. So, yeah, it's nice to see that she's gone back to her roots, she's gone back to the slalom, and she's gone back to some success at the Olympics.
Yeah, it's nice to. It's one of these things where even though perhaps as an international viewer, you're not always massively keen on seeing US gold medals, but for the individual, you're delighted for her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's we can pick and choose. You can pick and choose who you like in these sports, which is great. When it's an individual sport, you have your favourites, and yeah, not all your favourites win, and sometimes they do.
Yeah, and then that was a nice bow on the present that was the alpine skiing in Milan-Cortina. Following on from that, we still had a few events in the biathlon to go for. The last one that Chris and I went through very ably, as long as nobody looks at the footage, was the men's the men's relay. But then following from that, we had the women's relay. So if you could reflect on this for us a bit, Dan.
Sure. I mean, the women's relay was just a sort of prime example of how the power in global biathlon, in women's biathlon, has shifted from Norway comprehensively to France and to the French team. The French women's team is extraordinary. They've got real depth. We'll talk about some of the other individual races that came up as well. but they are as dominant. The French women are as dominant, almost as dominant as the Norwegian men are on the other side in the cross country as well. So it's a very strange shift that's gone on and happened. What's really weird about that one, or not weird, but the whole biathlon meeting it was a real bummer for the Italians. They thought they had really good chances, not outside chances, but a fair chance in the women's relay, maybe in the men's relay, and a bunch of other races. And they've gone away with one gold for Lisa Bertozzi and one in the mixed relay, and the rest of it was a real downer for the Italians. So that's the story of the women's relay. The other little bit of interesting gossip in the women's relay, of course, is that convicted credit card fraud, Julia Simon, did an amazing last leg to bring the French home for it. And the woman who she defrauded, Justine Brézard-Boucher, didn't make the relay team. Because the shooting had been so bad. So there's like some real psychodrama going on in the women's team for the French.
Is that because she didn't have enough money on her credit card to buy rounds for practice?
Yeah, she wasn't able to tap in and tap out of the ski lift to take her up to the thing, so she was just sat at the bottom. It was sad.
And then we had the men's 15-kilometer mass start on Friday.
Yeah, that was a really surprising race. No one thought that Johannes Høsflot would win that. He's a really rock solid member of the Norwegian relay team, which sounds like a very sort of damning with faint praise, but he is. But he came through. He shot perfectly. He has never in his life shot 20 out of 20 in a mass start, and he did it. And he's gone home with a gold medal. Silver was weeping adulterer Sturla Holm Liegrid, who he really fucked her, to be honest. I mean, in the worst possible way. He won a medal in every single event. No golds apart from in the relay, but he won a medal in every single event. And all anyone is going to remember is him bursting into tears and confessing to having slept with another woman. And there was just this weird pull over his meet, and the men's sort of biathlon thing was every time he was interviewed afterwards, everyone was on edge, like thinking, what's he going to say now? He's kidnapped a child, he's committed a burglary, something else that he's going to like break and burst into tears and do. Third in the mass start was actually my pick of the biathletes from the men's biathletes. It was Quentin Fillon-Maillet of France, who has done bugger all for 4 years since the last Olympics, where he won 3 gold medals at the last Olympics. He won another 2 and another couple of individual medals here. He is the absolute paradigm of someone who rises to the event and the timing. He's got more now. I think he's got as many Olympic gold medals as anyone else in the biathlon, and it's just a really remarkable performance. I don't think I even mentioned him early on in our preview program, so it's really impressive from him.
And then closing off with the women's mass start, and more success for France, but only silver medal for credit card fraudster.
Yes, silver medal. But the other two medalists, Oceane Michelon and Teresa Babornikova. So Oceane women's biathlete, and she came through to win it. She's only 23. She's I think won one, or maybe I think she's only won one World Cup race before in her life. And no one thought that Czechia's Teresa Babornikova was going to come back. She was leading going into the last lap, but the 2 French women caught her. So the fact that a French woman won it, unsurprising. The fact that it was Oceane Michelon, I wouldn't have given you any money for that in advance. But it was pretty amazing. Both of them took place in pretty grotty conditions, not quite as bad as it was further south. But biathlon in the snow is quite something to watch.
I suppose, yeah, because it's the added difficulty of shooting in with snow obscuring your vision and whatever impact the accompanying wind has on it as well.
The wind, the visual impairment, but it also makes the skiing really difficult when it's accumulating on that, and that really saps the energy. So particularly in the men's, there were a lot of people missing 2 or 3 on each round, so the field was very strung out by the end of it. There was also a very cute thing, I think, in the men's mass start with the three guys who came last, including American Campbell Wright, who did not break the American duck of gold medals in the biathlon at the relay. The three of them stopped and did a impromptu sprint at the end because it was the last piece. They waited for each other and they did this little comedy sprint at the end. So it was one of those things I usually disapprove of, cute Olympic moments, but it was actually a cute Olympic moment that I quite like.
The Dr. Dan seal of approval there. I don't think you can get
just about. Yeah, it melted my cold, frozen heart. I thought it was pretty good.
And then moving on, I think there were some. Well, we had heart-warming scenes in the bobsleigh, in the monobob in particular. We discussed that a bit before, and with the two-man. So I guess it's the two-woman and the four-man we need to discuss, Kyle.
Yeah, so I mean, before we predicted for the two women, it was going to be a Germany versus USA battle, and Lauren also really proved her worth there. She finished first in 3 of the 4 runs, only second on her first run, to have a really comprehensive victory, half a second ahead of Lisa Buchwitz from Germany. Lisa's really interesting. She was a brake person before, and now she's a driver, so it's fantastic that she's been able to get up and get an Olympic silver medal, especially in the two-person bob. We've seen quite a few brake people now become drivers in the monobob, but not many have managed to convert that to being an amazing pilot for the two-person bob. But Lisa Buchwitz has done fantastically to get that silver medal. Hayley Humphreys, again, she's always there. A really solid run from her as well. Track record she set in the first heat as well, to get the bronze. Got to mention Alana Miles-Taylor, who had a great first run, right in it, 5th place, but had a bit of a disaster loading on run 2, and she ended up with only the 21st best run of run number 2, which kind of dropped out the running. But she got the gold in the monobob, so I'm sure she's very happy with that. Keisha Love as well, one of my dark horse picks at the start of the week, given how well she'd performed on the World Cup circuit when we had the event in the Cortina track back in November. Really solid results from her. 6th, 5th, 4th and 5th to finish 5th overall. It's a great performance from her, and I think again another brake person, so she will come and improve going forwards. Just got to mention, of course, our girls. So Adele Nicol and Ashley Nelson, of course, had a bit of a sticky start. Day 1 was a bit rough. They finished 20th in both Heat 1 and Heat 2. I know they were not happy with their run. However, Heat 3 and Heat 4, they were 11th in both, and that was right on that top 12 of what I thought should be achievable for them, and finishing over on 15th, which I think is a good, solid result, and I think they can really build on that going forward. So I think Adele should be very happy with herself as a performance.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't hurt. I was just going to say, I hope it doesn't hurt their funding with them not being top 10 or top 8 or whatever UK sport sort of set of their expectations for them.
Yeah, exactly. I think it depends. Obviously, UK sport, they'll take the the solid result on paper. Did you make this hard line? Which is always difficult because you've got to take into account the athlete, the development, their performance. And Adele's only her 3rd season as a driver. There is huge way to go with her. I think she's proven herself brilliantly on the World Cup circuit, and I really hope they give her a chance to continue to develop that. And of course, we've got such great sprinters in the UK now. We're now at a stage where our amazing female sprinters who were in their early 20s 10 years ago are now approaching the age where they're in their 30s, where actually have a go at bobsleigh. I've always really wanted to see Ash Phillip do a push start. Don't know if she has, but I think she would be great at it. I think Ash Nelson's proven how good she's been to come into the team. We've got Kaya Placide in there as well. But I think we do have a really good untapped potential. I think when you look at other teams of how they have kind of invested into, okay, right, who's our sprinting? Who can we take from sprinting and put in the back of a bobsleigh? I think if we really pushed on that, we could have a fantastic array of push athletes. And then the odd one, like Adele, has developed into a great driver too. So fingers crossed they take into account the overall picture. And I'm hopeful for the future for Bob.
And that's kind of what they said in their interview. I saw Ashley were almost doing a call to action, like, come on, have a go. The Germans have got 3 sleds. Why can't we get 3 sleds? And yeah, I guess maybe it's just drivers that we need as well as pushers. But yeah, they were very much optimistic that we're going to have a bright future.
Yeah.
It is becoming a bit like a retirement home for British sprinters. It's like, hey, aged out of the 60 meters, have a go at flinging yourself down the mountain. That's a good one.
But why not?
And then once you're not good enough to make the British team, you then go to the Jamaican team, as Joel Fearon and Mika Moore did. That's the second retirement home.
Yeah.
No, I think
I also do. Sorry, go on.
No. I was just going to say the fact that they're only, 60 meters is quite a long way. In most bobsleigh tracks, they're only having to run about 40 maximum. So if you're running out of gas, then. And
I think there's something in it. What I said in our WhatsApp chat earlier this week. I do think one of the reasons that there just aren't many good German male sprinters anymore is that they've all been put into the back of a bobsleigh. There's a real pull through on that.
Yeah.
And then
that leads actually really nicely on, nicely on to the men's 4-man. Speaking just before we get into drivers and results, Thorsten Margus is a German sprinter who had previously been in Francesco Friedrich's team and won Olympic medals with him. He then retired until Johannes Lochner from the other German squad phoned him up and said, do you fancy hopping in my sled? And he was like, oh, right, okay, go on then. He's now got another Olympic gold medal. So you don't often see team swaps, particularly with the Germans, really. They really don't, because they're from different tracks. You don't really have that swap over as much as you do with some of the other teams. America love to mix around their brake person and get them into squads to perfect what they can do. But with Germany, it tends to be a bit more set. So it's actually really interesting that Thorsten Margus has now switched crews, unretired, and now got another gold medal at the age of 36. But going on to that, Johannes Lochner, we always said it was a two-way between Johannes and Francesco Friedrich. Not quite as big a margin as he had in the 2-man, but again, very dominant. First on 3 of the runs, only run 2. He was ranked second when his teammate Adam Amor was the fastest, but just untouchable, really. Really nothing. The third run was a little bit, the second one was a little bit dodgy near the end. He really likes to let the sled fly, and there were a couple of moments in that second run where I thought, oh, right, just be careful here. But thankfully he kept it together and had 2 fantastic runs on day 2. Half a second or 6/10 nearly ahead of Francesco Friedrich in second place. Bronze medal though, okay, we thought a German sweep was on the cards, and you know what, it might have been. Adam Amur, great driver, great young driver, with his brother Issam. Delighted they got a medal in the 2-man. That's brilliant. But when we came down to those final few runs in the 4-man, and Mickey Vogt and his crew had a great run, I thought, oh my God, please hang on. Now, Mickey Vogt's long been regarded as one of the best drivers in the circuit. He's a great pilot. Obviously, with a smaller nation like Switzerland, you need to have that power behind you, where the Germans have in spades by stealing all their sprinters and putting them in the back of a bobsleigh. With Switzerland, they don't really have that as much. They're great athletes, but they don't have the depth as much. Mickey Vogt, in particular, I was absolutely delighted to see him get a bronze medal. He had a really, really bad crash in the 2-man in Altenburg 2 years ago with his brakeman, Sandro Michel, who is still not returned to sport. After that, they crashed at the end. The bobsleigh then came back on them and actually ran over Sandro. Crushed his pelvis. He had to be airlifted to hospital. He had horrendous injuries. So for Mickey Vogt to then come from that with a new squad essentially and come back and get a bronze medal, I was absolutely delighted with. So well deserved for being such a good pilot. There's so many good pilots on the circuit. Brad Hall from the UK being one of them, Mihai Tentea from Romania. But if you don't have the push power behind you, it can make it difficult to then penetrate that German dominance. So I was delighted to see that Mickey could get up there and get a brilliant bronze medal for the crew. Patrick Baumgartner, I mentioned in the preview, is a bit of a dark horse. Italy's best hope really in the 4-man for bobsleigh. A solid 5th place result from them. I don't think they did anything wrong, and I think that's probably the peak that they could have probably achieved for them. Going on to the British team, Brad Hall, I know obviously Brad will be disappointed overall to finish in 7th place. Had a brilliant first run, getting in 3rd, and we thought, oh, actually, we've got a good chance for medal on this. I was hopeful for top 6. I think they definitely were had the potential to be top 6. A very loose second run, only 12th fastest, and their final run was only 10th fastest as well. So they won't be happy. Hopefully Brad will continue. I'm not sure. We know Greg Hackett is retiring. Brad, I think, does he have 4 more years in him? I'd like to think he does. He's 35 now, though, and I do fear that that will be the end of his career. And slightly worryingly, we don't really have another up-and-coming driver to kind of take over that mantle, which is the concern going forwards. And again, mentioning back to the funding, if we don't have a team that are at that standard to fund, would the funding be cut altogether and just go purely into skeleton? Because we're doing quite well at that now. So, but anyway, a great frontman competition. I think no surprises really, but delighted for Mickey Vogt and the boys from Switzerland.
Oh, thank you.
The Swiss want to get Alex Wilson in. I'm not sure if they're lucky, but he's at a loose end, isn't he?
Well, he's finished his 10-year ban.
So young enough to be a Belpster pitcher.
What a weird day that was when he set the Swiss record or the European record.
Took like 9.2 or something. No, not.
And one of these ones where it's like, it's so obvious. Come on.
Yeah.
Moving on from the bobsleigh, we have the cross country to look back at. I think we've got the team sprints and the mass starts to look at. So, Dr. Dan, if you could reflect back on this for us.
I mean, guess who won the men's cross-country medals?
Norway.
I mean,
the same man.
The same man, the myth, Johannes Høsflot Klæbo. That has got to go down as one of the all-time great Olympic achievements. Like 6 gold medals, and not just 6 gold medals, but like 6 gold medals in some of the toughest physical conditions and physical sports you can do. Really just astonishingly impressive. We'll maybe dwell on his sort of historical positioning at the end. They obviously won the Norwegians won the men's sprint relay. Although they were pushed, I say pushed, it was quite cool to see the Americans, Ben Ogden and Gus Schumacher, actually trying to take it to the Norwegians. Yeah. They didn't. Sometimes on the circuit, you will see other teams just assuming the Norwegians have won this and not bothering. And I think Gus and Ben probably knew they couldn't win, but they didn't show any fear, and it was nice to watch the Norwegians actually be pushed to do it. Klæbo was actually partnered by someone to watch for the next Olympics, Einar Hedegaard, who got a bronze in the 10K time trial as well. He's one of these guys who can do cross-country skiing and biathlon, and there's some talk of him trying to do both at the French Alps Olympics, which I think is probably logistically impossible, but would be very cool to see. Because we do see people move, particularly from cross country to biathlon, and they can't shoot, but he can. Guy who can do that. And Italy got a bronze medal in the men's sprint, where Elia Barb and Federico Pellegrino, who is about 400 years old, as far as I can tell. So great for them to get a medal with their home crowd. And Great Britain was 5th. Absolutely brilliant performance by them, by Andrew Musgrave and James Clooney. It was James Clooney on the final lap who took the Canadians and the Austrians and the Czechs. Just a really, really strong final lap for them, because that the team sprint is crazy. It's not 4 people. It's not like a athletics sprint relay. It's 2 people doing 4 laps each, one, and it is really knackering. So that was nice, and Andrew Musgrave just performing incredibly well across across the entire Olympics. So it was that two sixths and a fifth for him, which puts him right up there for me. And so I know there's no gold medal, and but there were statistically better performances. But he was really impressive.
Oh, absolutely.
And the
I
women's,
had him
sorry, go
down
on.
as, I said, if it wasn't for Adam Weston and his um Matt Weston and his
Matt West.
sorry,
Not,
and his
not
two
bad,
gold,
not bad, man.
yeah, no, and his 2 gold medals, then he would have been absolutely my pick to carry the flag at the
Yeah, same.
closing ceremony.
Yeah, definitely. And it was it's quite good fun because I mentioned her at the preview thing. His sister Posey is one of the commentators on TNT, and watching her, listening to her try to hold on to her objectivity as he's doing really well is quite good. She does a good job of it, and I recommend the footage of the final 5 seconds of the men's relay, particularly just to hear her shouts out. It's another one of those heartwarming Olympic moments that I seem to be accumulating quite a few of. The women's sprint relay inevitably went to Sweden. It's very interesting. I say very interesting. Where Norway were dominant in the men's, the Swedish women are absolutely dominant on the other side, and it was only a very unfortunate fall in the team relay that stopped Sweden winning all the women's gold medals. So they had 5 of 6, and Johannes Klæbo had 6 of 6 on his own. The 2 mass starts, and this is the 50K, and this is the remarkable thing about Klæbo. He started his career as an out-and-out sprinter. And Chris, you were talking about Michaela Schifrin trying to do that thing where she becomes an all-round alpine skier, not just a slalom specialist. He has made himself into a distance, not just competent, but a remarkable distance specialist as well. And the only way to beat him is to try and take the sprint kick out of him, which they used to be able to do, and he can just stay with them now. And he stayed with Nyenget and Everson, his 2 teammates, right until the end, and that resulted in a Norwegian sweep of the podium, which we are very, very used to on the international circuit, on the World Cup circuit. But I think it was actually the only one we saw in the cross-country skiing at the Olympics, which was nice. To have things broken up a little bit with some other countries trying to, Americans in particular. The women's side was the redemption story of the cross country, the women's 50K. Ebba Andersson, who had 3 really horrific falls in very poor conditions in the team relay, thereby basically losing Sweden, who were pretty nailed on favourites to get the gold, losing them the gold. They only got silver in the end. But she took the 50K out and destroyed the field. She won. I mean, it's, ratios and things because it's such a long event, but she won by something like 2.5 minutes. The woman who was in bronze was nearly 7 minutes behind. It was a really serious thing. And so for her to redeem herself like that and to come through with the gold was a lovely story for the cross-country skiing to end on.
Yeah, it's been exciting Olympics there, particularly for the Swedes, and it's nice to see that redemption story for Ebba Andersson. There was more success for the Swedes in the women's curling. It was, as the round robin started to round up, we were doing all sorts of calculations around Wednesday and Thursday and figuring out if the Brits could get through and who we needed to win in each of in whatever order to get the Brits through, because they had a really good sort of resurgence in the latter half of the tournament, including an amazing final shot in the match against the USA. Sadly, it wasn't to be for the British women, but Sweden and Switzerland still provided for an amazing gold medal match. I was supporting Switzerland in this because, as I said in our preview, Switzerland have had just the most rotten luck in women's Olympic curling. So many second places and so many fourth places, and just near miss after near miss. And I was really thinking that, right, this is going to be their year. They're going to do this. Unfortunately for them, despite having launching a bit of a comeback in the 9th end, losing 2 in the first end proved quite costly. And it was Sweden and Team Hasselborg winning their 2nd gold medal, but thoroughly well deserved for them. The bronze medal was won by Canada in a match against the USA, and I was actually really pleased to see that Rachel Homan had finally broken that spell of bad luck that she'd had at the Olympics. It's always a bit of a scandal in Canada, really, when they don't get a medal in any curling event. So the fact that she had not won either in 2018 as part of the women's team or as in the mixed doubles in 2022, it was probably really playing on her mind, and she managed to break through with a bronze medal. As for the men's side, obviously my loyalties were with Team Mauer and Britain, and I was thinking, yep, this is their year. For the first time in 102 years, we're going to win a men's curling gold. Really close match, really exciting throughout, but just that ninth end where we let three go, it really spelled the end for Great Britain. And it's a real shame because Britain started the match in such control and then just sort of seemed to lose that accuracy as it went on, while Canada seemed to just get better as the match went on. And it's also not a great look for the sport that the team that were furiously swearing against their competitors in the earlier stages of the competition and denying that they had done any wrong when they had clearly been double touching, are walking away with the gold medal and haven't sort of really faced any sort of repercussions from that other than from the court of public opinion. So that's a bit of a shame, but it is a nice return to form for Canada in terms of curling. They've not had the Olympic performances in the last two games that you'd expect from them. So it's good to see that they are back and that they are reflecting the strength of the sport in the country. If only Bruce could have done it and the rest of the team.
Yeah, it was like you say, it was a weird match. Like what we side up here, and then we kind of there was like crossover halfway through, and then the Canadians just kind of took it around away with it. I mean, I thought it was the eighth end when I was like, that was when the wheels started to come off a little bit, when there was a couple of missed shots and we didn't get a two or we were going to push it to keep the hammer and all that, and ended up just getting the one, and that was like a little bit frustrating. And then after that, they kind of set the stall out for that kind of horror of a ninth end, which is a shame, but I just hope they come back, because for Bruce it must be tough, because he's come to these Olympics with high hopes and he's done exactly the same thing as he did last time, silver in the men's, fourth in the mixed, and it's like he must be thinking, God, it's Groundhog Day here. So I hope that they all come, I hope him and Jen come back, and I hope that the team might come back for the next one, and hopefully they can get a gold and a bronze.
I mean, I did say that in 4 years' time he'll be 35, which is the same age that Rona Martin was when she won Olympic gold in Salt Lake. So in curling, and I mean the Canadian team who won were well into their late 30s and 40s, so there's still time for him as long as he's got the motivation.
There's plenty to, and also I feel what's been not just wonderful to see is the acceptance of curling as a sport. I mean, I knew it was getting bigger, like on social media at the last games, but I feel this year it's kind of taken a whole different world, and the fact that I've seen more about people watching curling this year than ever before, and people now wanting to know when can we watch curling on the World Cup circuit. So I really hope we can get some broadcasting stuff in place in the UK and maybe show a bit more of the sport, because I think it's a wonderful sport showcase.
I don't see why the BBC can't pick up the World Champs or something and just stick it on iPlayer, because like I didn't realize the TV ratings for the final on Saturday night, it peaked at 5.5 million, which is the highest audience BBC Two has had for 10 years. So it's like, come on, look into that.
It makes very good TV because it's easily legible. You can tell what's happening. The commentary just feeds into like a grand tradition of cricket commentary. It's all slightly wry and ironic.
Steve is very good though. Steve is good.
Yeah, he is.
I was following it all on TNT, where you just have these two old fellas eating cake. As far as I can tell, it's rather lovely. I did want to say that I quite liked the fact that the Canadian men, boo that they won, because they made it a little spicy. What is sometimes a slightly, even though it makes good TV, the 400 million matches that they seem to play over 2 weeks, the double poking thing, it added a little spice to the curling, which I quite liked.
I think it would have been more narratively satisfying though if they were beaten in the final.
It would have been funny to see if they'd had a little like gesture from anyone else, like they'll poke.
Yeah, just
like the Turkish shooter guy from the Paris Olympics.
Yes,
This is the equivalent. But moving on, the next sport alphabetically from curling is figure skating. Oh, I'm in charge of this, aren't I?
There's only the women's
It was
gala,
the gala, was it
and
not?
the nonsense gala, which was nonsense.
Yeah, I've only seen a bit of. I'm not sure entirely what was happening because I had it on.
Was it
mute.
broadcast? I didn't even know it was
The
broadcast.
BBC showed like two skates from it at the end of their coverage on Saturday night. I was like, it was just a guy Malinen who didn't actually obviously win the gold, because I didn't realise it was like very different vibes, isn't it? They just wear random outfits and do whatever they want, basically.
Did you see the guy who won skated as Kung Fu Panda?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was being swung around on the ice.
It just felt borderline racist. I don't know. There's something weird about it. I don't know what was going on with that. I love the gala because as I think I said this 4 years ago. It's the one time when ice skating just goes, do you know what? Yes, we are the gayest sport in the world. Behold.
I mean, it was fascinating to see. I do sort of wonder how it gets past any sort of copyright lawyers, because surely it would be a legal minefield, but maybe parody law covers it. I don't know.
I think it's fair use, probably.
Yeah. But before we got to that, we had the final competitive event of the figure skating left, which was the women's singles. Alyssa Liu of the USA walked away with the gold medal, but she did leave herself with a bit of work to do. She was only in third after her short program, but she just skated so flawlessly in the free skate that she walked away with the gold, overcoming the only real competitors to her, which were the Japanese trio. I believe it's Ami Nikai, who was the 16-year-old, who was first after the short program and managed to hold on, 16 or 17, and managed to hold on even with 9th place in the free skate for a bronze, and Kaori Sakamoto for a nice round second place in both, which got her second place overall. But with this, Alyssa Liu, she's the only member of the US team that won the team event that actually has walked away with an individual gold medal. And I've been noticing that there is a bit of a run of in the past that while some people have managed to win both the team gold and an individual gold, there is quite a history of people expected to do well, performing fine in the team event, and then just faltering, just like we saw Ilya Malinin do in the men's singles. So I'm wondering, are figure skaters going to catch on to this? Are they going to start taking a step back from the team event? Because it does seem to be, well, I don't know if you can blame the team event, but it does seem to be maybe having an impact on how they perform later in the competition.
I wonder, because it's we've definitely seen athletes in the mix not do the mixed 4x400 at the beginning of the championships because they think it's going to interrupt or interfere with their individual event, or we've seen it actually do it. But this one, I think it's less about a physical exertion and it's more about the individual. There just being so much pressure in the ice skating. It's the only place like the emotions are so like raw, and everyone is about 12 years old or a 78-year-old Russian spy. There doesn't seem to be anyone else involved in ice skating. And everyone's on the verge of tears constantly. And I just think there's a lot. I think they feel the pressure in ways that manifests very differently to other sports people. I think the artistic side of it comes into it. That plays a part of them just feeling this differently. And I think some of the favorites coming into the ice dancing or ice skating, the figure skating, would have flopped anyway, even if they hadn't done the team thing. I just think it's about the pressure, not the having done the team event as well.
Yeah, I mean, the team event, the whole thing is insane because it's one of the few Olympic sports where you're alone for probably competing for about 4 minutes at a time, which is a huge amount of pressure compared to other things where it would be, quick and on and off, maybe a minute or two.
And compared to a lot of other sports, when you have a team event, the majority of the team event is post your individual event. In a lot of sports where, you've got relays in swimming and athletics and whatever, in skeleton, in the Winter Olympics, to then have to do the team event first and then focus on your individual must be weird psychologically of you're doing it for everyone, you're all together, then all of a sudden the people that you might have been teammates with are your direct competitors, as opposed to doing it the other way around where you have your individual competition and then do the team thing. So I think it must be quite tough mentally.
Yeah, definitely. I do wish, I don't know how it would work schedule wise, but I do kind of wish they'd put the team event after the individuals, because I feel it kind of just spoils all of their programs where the commentators will say, "What a spellbinding program," and I'm like, "Yes, I know, I saw it a week ago." But yes, that was the figure skating. That was the last of it for Milano-Cortina 2026.
That's the most we've ever discussed figure skating as well. I should
Yeah,
say
we did
that.
well.
That
We
was,
did well there.
I know, I'm amazed that
that was,
people had something to chime
that
in
was
with.
a solid 5 minutes without any of us saying anything about any of the routines or anything technical. I thought it was
A word on that. The women's individual routines. I did actually catch a bit of the end of this, and I thought the Japanese athlete who came second and third, beautiful routine. I'm not genuinely figure skating fan, but I thought they were incredible.
Yeah. Well, I can't let the whole discussion end without saying that Alyssa Liu of America was fantastic, but I really found that horizontally dyed hair very upsetting. And I would have docked a point or two for that.
Hairstyle points removed.
I like that it's a statement look. I don't like the statement she is making.
Yes. The statement is, I've dyed my hair horizontally, and that's not a statement anyone should make.
But following on from that, we've got freestyle skiing.
Yeah.
Fair for you to catch up on, Chris. You want to lead us through?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of freestyle skiing going on. I'll start with the aerials, just because it is the least interesting, in my opinion.
Or the moguls and the aerial. Who cares?
This is I prefer. I think the moguls has a little bit more to it than the aerials. The aerials is just like, what? We have the big air now. Do we need this?
Also, I love the aerials.
And we have gymnastics.
I love the aerials that is utterly hat stand in what they're doing, but it's so quick that it's so difficult to follow.
Yeah, it's just like way. But yeah, it was quite a cute story that in the men's and women's, the gold medalists from China, they're both married. So that was quite a cute little story.
To each other?
Yes, to each other.
Yes,
that's the point. They're
married people winning.
They're married together. They are married to each other, and they both won the gold medal together, which was really nice. So. Congrats to them. And then it was, China won gold and bronze in both men's and women's aerials. No Ross got Switzerland silver in the men's, and Daniel Scott got the silver in the women's. And then that all led to quite an interesting team event, which I did actually watch in its entirety, and it was actually really quite fun. Because it's the way they do it is they kind of like, they have a round, and then they'll have like final one, and they get rid of the bottom. They go through, the top four go through, and then they kind of reset and they go for final two. And it made it a little bit interesting because Australia were doing really well in final one, and then didn't do as well in final two, so they were ended up finishing in fourth place. And then it looked like China did quite well in final one, but then they would drop back. But it ended up basically America winning, and then Switzerland, who were just kind of scraped into the final four, ended up getting the silver medal, and then China got the bronze. So it was quite fun, actually. I enjoyed the mixed team event. Obviously, I think you can choose if you have two men or two women. You have to have one of each, but you can choose which way you do it. And it was great fun. I really enjoyed that. So USA won it, and Switzerland silver. And,
having said, can I just ask something? There were only 7 teams that took part in qualification.
Yeah, I mean, it's a slim down event.
Yeah, to go from 7 to 4 in the I don't know. It just feels like
they just called it final one and final two. It all happened in the same day, so it's kind of that's just the way I do it. But it was more manageable.
But I did that. I'm just going to add that the Swiss woman, that she was sort of very inexperienced and kind of like doing it mainly because she was the only woman on their team, and then that she still managed to, even though she didn't do great, they still managed to hold on for that silver medal.
It was good to kind of like, she was loving it. She was like, I got a medal. So that's why it was great about a team event, when you have someone who's like, wouldn't necessarily get on the podium individually, and they do in the team. So I'll do the ski cross next. Women's ski cross was great. It was mainly because it was it was weird because it was obviously last time we had the drama between Daniela Mayer and Fanny Smith with that bronze that kind of was only allocated a few years later for Fanny Smith, and Daniela Mayer said at the time, she deserves it, and it was all a bit of a controversy because they didn't want to take it off her, so they ended up sharing it, and then it ended up being the battle between those two for the gold, with Sandra Naslund of Sweden, who got the gold last time as well. So it was the same 3 people on the podium. Obviously there was 4 last time, but just in a different order, and it was Daniela Mayer who kind of won it fairly comfortably, actually, in the end, in the final.
That was what surprised me. I thought it would be much tighter. Naslund's been beating her quite handily on the circuit, and it was like, Yeah, it was almost from the gun.
Yeah, it was a bit like it didn't. It looked like it was going to be this great battle between them all, but she kind of just kind of won it fairly straightforwardly, which was a bit of a shame. But and then Fanny Smith, who's obviously half British as well, another medal we could have had. She got the silver, and then as I said, defending champion Naisling got the bronze. So it was good that it kind of went to the form book in a way in terms of it was the same names we were expecting, because that doesn't normally happen in these kind of events. And then the men's one was a great for Italy. It was like they got the gold and the silver, and it was one of those things where when the day pans out, you can kind of see who's having a good day, and some of the bigger names kind of went out earlier on. I think you could maybe say the Swiss Alex Fever. He was on the podium in Beijing, has won world titles before. He ended up getting the bronze, but he was probably the biggest threat. But I mean, I think the guy who won the gold, Deramitidis, he'd won the world championships before, and then it was his Tomasoni who got the medal. Yeah, I don't think he won a medal. Yeah, a medal at the World Championships before. So yeah, they weren't total unknowns, but it was great that they both got on the podium. They both made the final, got on the podium in front of the home crowd, and it was a bit more close and it was a bit more exciting. But no, I did enjoy it. It's always good. It's a good day. It's a good day to watch because it just happens so quick. They just churn them out. Like, finish your race, go back to the top, go again.
It's so well presented. I say this about a lot of them. It's like athletics can learn so much about how to put events on online.
And are we having? Is the talk of there being the demonstration sports at the next one? Like they kind of like, will they bring in, or will they just bring in like a few new ones for a new Olympics? I'd love them to bring in the skate cross. I don't know if you've seen the skate cross. It's the same. Like it's a wider.
Nuts.
It's nuts. It's like just basically a wider bobsleigh track, and they just all the jumps and stuff, and then they have to skate down like four of them, and it's a race, and it's the same thing, the same process.
It's really fun. Yeah, I'd love that to be in the Olympics.
I wonder if the insurance premiums for French Alps 2030 would cover that.
Yeah, maybe. And there's genuine talk of them bringing the freeride event in as well, which obviously the freeride world tour is actually quite big. I used to cover it on Transworld Sport, and it's basically kind of like off-piste skiing with tricks and stuff, and they get scored, and that's that might be in for the 2030 games. They talk of that happening, so that could be another one to add to freestyle skiing. And then I'll finish with the half pipes. Obviously, I'll do them. I know. Woohoo! I'll do the men's first. This was actually a really good competition. Qualifying was a bit just a shame in a way. Obviously, that Finlay Melville-Ives had such a horrible accident. He was the favourite. I mentioned obviously because his brother Cam was the snowboarding equivalent, and it was cool to have these brothers, one doing snowboarding, one doing skiing. So it was a shame that he wasn't in there. And the other Kiwi guy, Luke Howell, didn't make it either. So there was only the one Kiwi in there, Ben Harrington, and he only just scraped into the final. And then the final was bizarre because it was all on the same day because they had the qualifying because of the snow. They had it in the same qualifying in the morning and the final in the evening. And it was it was really weird because the first run, like, barely anyone put a run down. It was like we had like two complete a run. And then the second run, Gus Kenworthy put down a really smart run, just a clean one, a safe one to get himself some decent points. And then a few others started again to creep up, and it started to get a little more interesting. And then the last run, those only all kind of put down their best run. So it ended up chopping and changing a little bit in the last couple of rounds, but ended up with Alex Ferreira of America winning the gold medal. Henry Sildaru, who I mentioned on the preview, the younger brother of Kelly, who got a bronze in the slopestyle in Beijing. So it's nice that Estonia have got representation in this event, and it looked like for a moment he was going to win the gold because he put down that 93 at the end and only bested by Ferreira at the end there. And then Brendan Mackay of Canada, who was the top qualifier, he got the bronze. He had two pretty terrible runs in the first two, and then had to put it all in that last one and managed to just get enough to get on the podium. Beating Nick Grepper of the USA, who was fourth. I felt a bit sorry for him because he's been around for a while. He was on the podium with Gus Kenworthy back in Sochi in the slopestyle, so he switched to half pipe as well. And I was hoping that kind of the older guys would get on the podium. But and then Gus as well, a great sixth place. I read his Instagram post today saying that he had a few regrets because he knew there was more in the tank. That safe run that got him the six was safe. He could have got up into the 90s and maybe challenged for a medal, but even then I still think he might have just been fourth had he had his best day. But he just kind of regrets not like sending it, as they say. He didn't quite send his best run. But and then obviously the Irish guy,
Benjamin Lynch.
Benjamin Lynch. He was born in Dublin, but raised in Canada and did represent Canada up until this year, I think, or last year officially. So he's only just switched, but great for him to A qualify because he was only like ranked 20 whatever. I think he only finished in the top 20 or top 15 once this on the World Cup in his life. And to make the final, top 12, and then to finish top 8 in the final, great day. He gets his Olympic diploma.
Chris, why is it in some so in big air and aerials it's the best their two best runs count together, but in I think in slopestyle and the half pipe it's just the one run that counts at three. What's
Yeah,
the logic behind that?
I think with yeah, I think the plan is that want them to well because it's so quick. I think they just want them to. The margin of error is just you just need to land effectively, don't you? So I think that's why they had the two. Whereas slopestyle and halfpipe, there's so many more variables in terms of tricks that you have
Right.
to do that and obviously if you fall in any of one of those tricks, you lose. That's it. You don't get any point. But effectively, it's done. You need to land everything. So that's why they give them the benefit of the two.
I think
But
there's
well, more three. Well, yeah, three. Then only one counts.
there's also the sort of balance of in the big air that they have to do in two different directions for their scores to
Yes.
count. Whereas in the
Right.
half pipe,
Yeah.
for example, they will be mixing up those directions as they go down to sort of show that versatility within their run.
Yes, because they may be coming in switch.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So yeah, that's it. Obviously, they do. I guess if they force that rule to make it better for the jumps and having the two scores, whereas the rest of them is just do your best run, and you've got 3 attempts to do it. So some people do it on the first, and some people do it on their last. But no, that was fun. The men's one was obviously interesting, and then the women's again was annoying because they kind of had a day off in between because of the weather. So they qualified. They qualified before the men, and then ended up competing on the last day, which was nice because it didn't clash with the curling. It was going to be this crazy Saturday night when we had all these medal chances. But obviously, Zoe Atkin did qualify top with a good score of 91.5. Li Fangwei of China was second with 90. Obviously, Eileen Gu was a little bit further down, but we kind of knew that she had obviously was saving stuff for the final. A shame for Cassie Sharp, the Canadian, who did qualify third but had a crash and then didn't end up starting the final. So yeah, it kind of always was going to be those three, and it was on the podium. There was a bit of a few points margin between third and fourth, but it was just what was Eileen going to do basically. And her first run, she didn't land it. Okay, there's an option here. Zoe put down a safe, strong first run to get into the gold medal position. And then it was only in the last round where they all did their best runs, and obviously Eileen already got there in the gold in that first one, and still sent it in the third one, sorry. And then it was close between Zoe. Her last run was really good. I mean, the judges were. I don't know if what they didn't seem to favour the height as much. She was getting more air or amplitude, as they say. She was getting more of that than her competitors, but. Yeah, she just fell 0.5 short of Li Fangwei of China to get. So it's Chinese 1-2, and then Zoe getting a bronze, matching the medal that her sister got in slopestyle 8 years ago.
Yeah. Watching this at the time, I did feel in run 2 that the judges were perhaps a bit generous to both the Chinese skiers in run 2. I think it probably was the right top 3 in the right order, but I was like,
agreed.
I wouldn't have given that 94, or even I wouldn't have put Li Fanghui's second run above Zoe Atkin's first. But I don't know.
Yeah, and I agree. And I thought the between Eileen Gu's ones, there's only 0.75 between her second and third, and that was like I thought there was a lot more than that. But yeah, what do we know?
Yes.
What do they know? Who knows? Even though that's what's been great about the whole freestyle events. Listening to Tim Wald and Ed Lee almost disagree with each other and the judges and be like, we don't really know. Like, what do they want? Do they want clean runs? Do they want height? Do they want this? And yeah, but. Ultimately, it all worked out, and it was Eileen Gu finally get a gold medal after her 2 silvers. So, she was obviously very happy with that.
And that wrapped up the freestyle skiing for these Olympics. Following on from that, we've got the ice hockey, which both tournaments ending in a US-Canada final that went both to overtime, both of them being scored and won by the USA. In the men's in particular, although it can sometimes be tempting to root against the USA because of their sporting dominance, among other things, I was quite happy to see this. This was the USA's first men's ice hockey gold since 1980, since the Miracle on Ice. And it was just, they knew they had a chance. They were referring to this as, they didn't need a miracle this time. It was a very close match. But it was really exciting right till the final end. Jack Hughes scoring the decisive goal, and I love that name because I just want to say it as French, like Jacques Hughes. It was very sweet at the end that they carried around the jersey of one of their teammates who probably would have made the team had he not died a couple years ago. So there was a lot of poignancy there, and it just seemed like a very delightful win on that front. Even though it was probably what was expected right from the start of the competition, I had hoped that we'd see maybe a bit of an upset somewhere. Particularly, I think that a lot of the NHL background teams were getting quite cocky and effectively expecting the gold medal for one of them, and I had hoped that there'd be a bit of an upset and put that in just to show that other countries can compete in international ice hockey.
And Sweden came close in the quarterfinal against
I said I was saying, and then the Czechia in the Canada one, that was like really close. I mean, Czechia should have won that, really. I mean, Canada was so lucky that it went to overtime and then they managed to get the golden goal, as it were. So yeah, that could easily have been a Czechia-Sweden semi-final.
Yeah. And I mean, that would have been fun. I think it would have been good echoes of 1998, which was the first Olympics when NHL was included, and who won? It was Czechia, or Czech Republic as they were known back then. And then similar thing in the women's final, US again, and it was what was her name? It was Megan Keller. I was doing all I can, so her name is not Helen Keller, do not call her that. But Megan Keller scoring the overtime goal that assured that the title would be going back to the USA. This is starting to ping pong a bit. They won it in 2018, Canada in 2022, and they're the only two countries that have ever won the women's ice hockey gold. But it's the first year that USA have won both, because of course when the USA last won the men's gold, women's ice hockey was not in the Olympics. And a lovely bronze there for Switzerland in the women's, and Finland, the defending champions in the men's, getting the bronze with a commanding victory over Slovakia in the bronze medal match.
Nice.
Any further comments on ice hockey?
No, it's good. Yeah, I was happy America won as well. It was a good moment. I didn't realize the main guy, Jack Hughes, I didn't realize he lost some teeth apparently in the final. I just read.
Yes, he walked away with quite a new smile, but hopefully he's got the budget now to pay for a replacement set.
He probably should come back with gold teeth now, shouldn't he? Be like, look, the turn gold. It was worth it.
Over in the Nordic combined, the only event we've got left to discuss is the team sprint cross country.
Oh yes. Well, now I know everyone's very rude about the Nordic combined in our preview event because it's stupid. But I actually rather warmed to it over the Olympics. Part of it is just the sort of general Olympicness. You got everything, and one will watch everything. But the team sprints happened in the most appalling weather, a proper blizzard going on. And what you ended up with was just a good fun relay to watch at the end after the hill. So it was enjoyable to watch. But you do end up just thinking we could have just watched another cross country relay with better relay runners, better cross country skiers. So there's always that. I think the most telling thing of all at the end of when they had the medal ceremony for the relay, the six men, the two Norwegians, the two Finns, and the two Austrians, were the only six men who won medals in the entire. It was the same six guys who won medals across the earlier pieces. So the depth really isn't there in terms of and variation. There's really only some Japanese people who can threaten those three countries. So it happened and it came to an end, and they were very, very cognizant in the interviews, but also in the commentary, that it's under threat. And so the I don't know if it even featured on the BBC, but the TNT commentators did a very creditable job of really upping the excitement levels of how this is brilliant and competitive and the best stuff you'll ever see. And I'm pretty certain it won't be at the next Olympics. I think they'll really struggle to convince, especially when we've got genius things like ski mountaineering to put on instead.
Go watch people climbing stairs with skis on the back. That's what we want. That's what we want to see.
That's all we want to see.
It was interesting. I don't think the BBC covered it much, but it was, I think, when there was literally nothing else on, that they would be like, well, we've got...
It really was.
That is what it says on the International Nordic Combined Governing Body's website. It says, when there's no other winter sports on, you could watch Nordic Combined.
I think it was a point when the snow was really bad in Cortina or whatever. There was a bit when it was like, we're going to have to show this, I'm afraid, because there's literally no other live sport going on.
And the commentator...
It should be better.
Sorry, you go. It
should be better because they do it all in the same day. They do the ski jumping and then they do a cross country race. And if there was some way of like setting them up, you do the ski jump and then when you land, you have to go. Right? Yeah. That's how you start your cross country. But unfortunately, for some safety reasons, they're not able to do that.
It's even the commentator on the BBC didn't seem to be thrilled to be covering it. He did sort of seem to be matching the level of enthusiasm that I think I've got for it, really.
Yeah, I mean the relay race, the final couple of laps were exciting, but they also don't need to be there.
Yes, you know, there are people who like Nordic Combined, I'm sure.
There are, and all of them do Nordic Combined. That's
following on from that, it's the short track speed skating. A fair few events to whistle through here.
Yeah. We did 2 sessions that we haven't covered. So the men's 500 meters was in the first session, and that was I really enjoyed this actually, because obviously the 500 it is just like literally just kind of go for it.
Chaos.
Obviously, Noel Tracy didn't make it out of the heats. Look, he had his moment. He made a final. That semi-final will always have that semi-final win. But yeah, it was a good final. Ended up being 2 Canadians and 3 Dutch. Just highlight again, I still can't get over this. This is my biggest takeaway from these Olympics, is how the Dutch have just gone, yeah, we've done long track. We're just going to go short track.
The other one.
And it's given how crazy this sport is, they're still winning, and it's like, it's mad. I mean, this was a bit different because obviously Jens Van, I keep calling him Van Twout, but I think it's Van Toot, or however you pronounce it.
It's Van Twout. I think you
Van Twout. Yes, Van Twout. I just call him Toot because it's a better name. He was going for the triple. Obviously, he'd won the 1,000 and the 15. Just needed to get this one. He was in the final with his brother, which is great. But I'm really pleased it was Stephen Dubois who came away with the gold. He skated a really smart race. Kind of like led from the front and asked the question of them to come around him. And he ended up winning, and then it was the other brother, Melle Van Twout, who got the silver ahead of his brother. And it was so sweet when they crossed the line; they immediately hugged each other, and it was like, I think, and I can't remember. It's just that someone said it might be the first time there's been siblings on the podium for, I don't know, a long time, if it's ever happened at the Winter Olympics. But yeah, it was great, and it was good to see that him, Jens getting another medal in the event that he was going to go for the triple in, but to see them both on there was great. So, that was a good one. And then the women's 15, I'll do that next, because even though that was in the next session, it's the last individual one. Once again, obviously, Ariana Fontana she'd already got the record anyway. She then was 4th in the 1,000, so 15 was always going to be a bit of a longer shot of her getting on the podium, but she did well to make the final, ended up finishing 5th. But it was the Koreans who dominated this one. I think, Kim Ji-lee is probably the more recognisable one. She'd already won a bronze in the 1,000. She ended up winning the gold in this one, and it was her teammate Xiao Minjing, who I think was the 2-time defending champion. She was another one of these women that was going for the three-peat at these Olympics. Didn't quite happen. She got the silver behind her teammate, and then Corinne Stoddard of the USA was the one who got the bronze. So I think that wasn't too much of a shot. I guess the shot maybe was, well, not a shot, but the comedy was the semi-finals of this, wasn't it? The semi-final with Sandra Veltz-Boer, who again was on for the triple at these games, and Courtney Sorrell, who'd won a medal in every event as well at these games. And then they both felt, well, wasn't it I can't remember what happened. Someone was taken out, and then the they just both fell independently on their own on the same corner. It's almost like there was a
Yeah,
rut
there
in
was
the ice or
something.
something.
There was a rut in that corner, and they both went out in separate races. Not in separate races, on separate laps.
Separate laps in the
Um,
same race. It was like, oh, she's gone. I was, oh, she's gone. And it was just like, and then I think it was, the one woman from Hong Kong who was like at the back, who just ended up making the
yeah,
final, was like, yeah, I'm in the final. She's like,
there's always one of those in the speed skating, someone who gets through to a final, or sometimes wins a gold medal, like that
yeah.
guy did several games ago. The other big story, I think, with those two, the two things, the first is in the men's. The Canadian guy, Dangenou, who came
Yeah.
in as the nailed-on favourite for
Yeah.
everything, with his face on a Canadian Air Canada plane, has gone home with no individual medals whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's really startling. Just he just didn't seem to be able to put a good race together.
No, I mean, obviously, I mentioned him a lot in the preview, and the only medal he got was in the mixed event. He didn't even get one in
Yeah.
the men's relay. So, yeah, I mean, I know he's young and he's, first Olympics, kind of, yeah, he just, maybe his time will come, but yeah, that's why I was quite pleased that Stephen Dubois got the gold in a way, because it's like experience, guys, always
Yeah,
go with the experience. But it was a surprise to see him. Yeah, but I guess and then on obviously the women's side, as I mentioned, the Veltsbo not getting in that final as well. That was kind of the shock. So it was weird that the last two events, like the ones that were going for the triple, didn't get there. But yeah, that women's semi-final was one of my highlights of the whole short track. It was just like, yeah, we finally got some silly short track, because it had been quite safe up until then, hadn't it?
Well, it had been safe for everyone apart from the American team, who couldn't stay upright at all. Every time they came out, they were a
Women
liability at
kept
one
falling
point. The
down.
women
Sorry,
particularly,
that. Yeah, the double-barreled name one. I can't remember now, but
yeah.
she was down more than she was up. Yeah.
And then obviously we finished with, both sessions kind of finished with the relays, women's 3,000-meter relay. Again, South Korea do have a very strong team, as I just mentioned. So it wasn't too much of a surprise to them win that against Italy, with Canada getting bronze. Missing out on a medal. I mean, I guess they've got the two Veltsbo sisters, but then after that, they don't have the bigger names. So maybe that was why. Whereas you felt like the Italians had a better second and third string to get them, and obviously the Koreans have got the great depth anyway, as do the Canadians as well. So yeah, that was a fun race. And finally, the men. Obviously, with the two brothers in there for the Netherlands, I think it was always going to be those guys that won. They've got a strong team. And they beat the South Koreans, and then it was the Italians who again kind of beat the Canadians, and I don't know if it was again a mixture of changing. It's been a changing of the guard team for the Canadians, isn't it? Because obviously Charles Hamlin and those guys are all retired, so it was a very kind of a mixed bag of a team, and yeah, they just missed out on the bronze, but it was good to see the hosts get on the podium again in the team, but. Yeah, it was a fun short track, and I thought for me the biggest takeaway was how the Dutch have just gone, right, this is our new sport now.
It'll be interesting to see if they can keep it up, because short track is perhaps one of the most unpredictable of all the sports in the Winter Olympics. So the idea of, I know that people do have repeated success, but it's whether they can actually maintain that, particularly when there is such a long-standing culture of long track speed skating.
Yeah, I mean, they got the same number of medals as South Korea, which was 7, but they got 5 golds. So it's kind of weird that they just managed to get the big ones, I guess. So whereas Korea just kind of spread their medals out. But I think they topped the medal table in short track, and they still did it in long track with 5 golds as well. So they're kind of just splitting their eggs into 2 different baskets now.
And the story behind it is quite interesting. Apparently, there were the depth in the regular speed skating is such in the Netherlands that, especially in the 5 and the kilo, that people were just not able to make the national team, who are absolutely world class. And so they started, I think 5 or 6 years ago, funneling people down into the short track, and it was just a way of coping with this embarrassment of riches that they had, and they've done it really smartly.
And there's a chance that the Netherlands might actually be holding, we'll get onto the long track, but that the Netherlands might be holding the long track at the next Winter Olympics, because there's not a venue in France. So they're discussing that it's most likely, right from when they awarded it to French Alps, that they would be holding it in another country. So it will perhaps be Italy, perhaps be the Netherlands. My suggestion is to put a roof on the athletic stadium in Monaco and host it there. But
that'd be great.
Yeah. They can't host the speed skating in the Netherlands. That's
No,
cheating.
surely no.
Well, no,
Too far away.
I do think it might be true in actually because it is geographically like near Earth, so to where all the other spots are.
I think it is geographically a long way, but then so is basically everything else about the next Winter Olympics. So I'm kind of like, you know what, the Netherlands will never be able to host the Winter Olympics on their own. Why not let them have, the event that they have made and given to the world, really?
Yeah, interesting.
Moving on, we've got ski mountaineering, or ski mo, or maybe ski meh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was fine. It wasn't quite the dramatic addition that I thought it was going to be. I was sort of expecting that, particularly on the downhill sections, that we would perhaps see overtakes of the stronger skiers overtaking those who started off who were better climbers. But instead it seemed that the downhill sections didn't really have much impact on it, and they were more a formality and just finishing the event. I don't know if that's different in the longer events, because obviously we only had the sprints and the team event here, but it wasn't quite the dramatic entrance to the Olympics that I was hoping for.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily made its case hugely strongly in terms of drama or interest or anything like that. They've also, I think, missed a real trick in not making them chug a glass of Glühwein when they get to the top of the stairs, and then they have to speed down slightly. That's the sort of thing that will bring in the viewers. But it's for all the people we mock the silliness of things like Nordic combined. It's like, I think to a casual viewer this just looks nuts. And it's difficult, despite its obvious historical antecedents, and that's how people used to get up mountains before ski lifts. It feels it was verging on the silly, which isn't to take away from the extraordinary physical and the athleticism of the athletes, but it was verging on that is a bit laughable.
Yeah, and I don't think the constant transitions help it either, because it does sort of break up although it does add some frantic-to-ness, it does make it feel that bit less physical in an event, which is obviously must be hell on your lungs.
And some of them are very dramatic when they whip the bits off from under their skis and then stuff it in their kangaroo pouch, and then it's just like, okay, they should have style points. That I think there need to be more Winter Olympics with arbitrary judging in it. That's it, ski mountaineering but ballet, and then they can come back for the French Alps.
But in terms of the medals, Spain won only their second Olympic gold in history, with Oriol Cardona-Cole. So their last gold going back to 1972, so in over 50 years since that's happened. I think it's also the only medal we had for an authorized neutral athlete, aka Russian, which was Nikita Filipov, and Thibaut Anselme for the bronze in the men's. Bit of an upset in the women's. Emily Harrop for France, with British parents, was the favourite going into it, but just missed out to Marianne Faton of Switzerland. And then another medal for Spain with Ana Alonso Rodriguez. But going into the team event, Emily Harrop got her revenge. She walked away with a gold, thanks to... And this was one of those fun relays where it was two people doing four legs between them and handing over. But yeah, Emily Harrop and Thibaut Anselme taking the gold for France. And it was basically the same names again. Faton with John Kistler. I think he's the only one who won a medal in the team event who didn't win an individual medal. And then the Spanish with the bronze, Cardona-Cole and Alonso Rodriguez once again. What might keep this on the programme is that France seem quite good at it, and because the French organising committee will have a say in which events are included in 2030, they might think, this is a good chance for us to get some medals in a sport that's not quite got a foothold across all the Alpine nations.
And Spain will be very much keen to keep it, given they won their only medal. I mean, they've only ever won... They're coming into these games, they've won 5 Winter Olympic medals in their history, and they got 3 in this one event.
Yeah.
So they'll be keeping it.
Well, yeah, if Spain's got anything to say about it, I'm sure they will.
Although I mentioned this on our chat, do we think that Spain should be doing better at the Winter Olympics in general, or is that me just being harsh?
when you think of the number of mountain ranges all across Spain that have some really world-class ski resorts, probably. You think right down to, I think it is called the Sierra Nevada, right in Andalusia, and they've got some fantastic ski resorts there. And it's interesting that it's not translated into good alpine skiers or good cross-country skiers.
And this is going to sound like a question from the Daily Mail. Do the Spanish ski? Right? Is there a culture of skiing?
I'm
Because
not sure there is.
Yeah.
you may have fabulous, locations for skiing, but if it's just where the Germans and the Austrians and other nations are going off season or for other things, then you can have all the great stuff in the world, but if there's no culture of it, it's not going to take place. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's just,
they just play football, yeah. It's like, I guess, cricket in the UK, cricket's huge in England. In Scotland, it's so minor. And you think, what's the difference between England and Scotland, really?
Yeah.
Cricket's never mentioned.
In Scotland, they play curling, and there's sadly not enough of that in England.
There we go. Exactly, yeah, completely.
Yeah.
But following on from the ski mountaineering, we've got, I believe, 2 snowboard events to go through, which are both the men's and women's slopestyle.
Yep. Yeah, this is the end of this of the snowboarding. I'll do the men's first. This was again. It was kind of most of the big names that we were expecting to make the final did make the final. A couple of Americans and Kiwis maybe not, but it's tough to kind of say who's going to be in it. Su Yiming of China put down a great first run. That was enough for the gold. So this was the opposite of the halfpipe, that it was kind of done at the end of the first run. You're like, oh, it kind of petered out a little bit after that. It was only really the battle for bronze that got interesting, because Hasegawa of Japan got the silver medal with his first run. So that was kind of the top 2 locked in. And then it was the weird battle for bronze that kind of kept it interesting, because Jake Cantor of America put in this great last run that got him into 3rd place, and he was so early. He was 3rd in the running order, and everyone just expected other people to beat him, and he didn't. He just ended up hanging on for this bronze medal, and it was great watching every time the scores come up, and him be like, I'm still here, I'm still in the bronze. And at the end, he was obviously buzzing to get that bronze. I guess it's a shame for some of the older guys like Marcus Cleveland of Norway, who again qualified 2nd. I mean, he's quite experienced, and it's like he always does this. He qualifies really high at these events, and then kind of flops in the final a little bit. So he was narrowly so close this time. He ended up 4th, a few points behind Cantor. And then Mark Morris, who obviously had his concussion from the big air that he had to recover from. Luckily, he got the all clear for this, and he just couldn't quite put down a good run that we know he can. So, because he's obviously the perennial bronze medalist in this, having won bronze at the last 3 Olympics in the slopestyle. I was kind of hoping he'd go at least one better this time, but no, he didn't even get. He finished 8th, so did get his top 8. But yeah, shame for him, because I'd like to have seen him do well. And then the women's was interesting, because obviously Zoe Atkin was the favourite. She kind of qualified really well with a decent score, a score of 88, which would have won the gold in the final, but obviously it's different conditions and whatnot in the final. But this was, again, kind of the 3 bigger names in this one, the 2 Japanese athletes, with Fukada and Murase, and it was a battle between those 3. Although Annika Morgan of Germany was in the medal position quite a lot of the way through, because it all kind of changed in the last round. But yeah, it was close, and I think some people think that Zoe Atkin did win the gold. I know that Elise certainly did. It was only, 0.35? Is that right between them? If my maths is right? Yeah, 0.35 between gold and silver. But it was Mari Fukada of Japan who did win the gold ahead of Atkin at bronze. It was really interesting as well, because Fukada was in the lead after her 2nd run. And she kind of because of the way the order went, she did need to do that better 3rd run, because that was the one that won it for her. Because Senna would have won it with that last one, and then Murase also in that last run, the penultimate to drop in that final run, ended up getting up for bronze and bumping out Annika Morgan of Germany. So she went from 2nd, 3rd to 4th. But yeah, it was the right people on the podium. Yeah, the order was maybe the one that was a little bit contentious, because it's weird for someone who's such a big name and a dominant force in snowboarding to kind of only get the silver here. But the Japanese really do dominate now the snowboarding. There's not just one of them, there's 3 or 4 of them, especially as we saw in the men's halfpipe, when there was 4 of them in the top 4 positions after the first run. So, but yeah, for Zoe having won New Zealand medals in Pyeongchang, obviously their first one, and then got the gold last time out to only come away with 2 silver. I don't want to ask her that in a press conference because she might get grief. But yeah, it was a good snowboarding competition all around. Actually, I really enjoyed it this time.
It's been another sport where the Olympics have provided many delights. And of course, one more to go through is the speed skating. I think there's a fair few events that we need to go through since Tuesday.
I think it's similar to what we did in the short track. It was just both the 15s and then the mass start. So I'll do the men's 15 first because this was again Jordan Stoltz. It's kind of similar to the short track that we had Jordan Stoltz who was going for his triple. But he was beaten by the Chinese athlete Ning Zhongzhang, who got the Olympic record as well. So he'd already got the bronze in the 1000. He got the Olympic record and beat Stoltz into silver. And then, as I mentioned, the Dutch obviously great at this, and it was what's his name, Kjeld Nuis. I can't quite pronounce his name, but he was going for the triple. Another one going for the three-peat in this event, but he ended up with the bronze. But to be fair, he was actually thrilled with the bronze afterwards. You see him at the finish; he was like thrilled.
He was totally good.
Because he knows that obviously he's getting on a bit, and these youngsters are coming through. So, but yeah, it's been from the men's point of view, it was good to see Stoltz back up. As we mentioned, the Canadian guy who maybe in the short track didn't back up his form coming into this. It was Stoltz that dominated and got all those 2 golds and that silver. And then in the women's 15, we had the Dutch kept it in the, obviously because previously it was Irene Wust who has won the defending champion in this one. It was Ripper de Jong who got the gold just from 600s ahead of Vikland of Norway, and then Valerie Malte was up for a pretty impressive bronze. I guess we were hoping that Takagi, the Japanese athlete, who again has been around forever, won loads of medals, would maybe be her moment for a gold at these games, but she didn't. Yeah, she kind of faded. It was really weird watching. I watched this one, and she was kind of she was leading a lot of the way around, and then it just. Obviously, I don't want to say it's like an age thing because she's only 31, but the last 100 meters, she was just on fumes. She almost slowly walked across the line, which is a shame because that really saw her kind of drop out the medals. But no golds for her at these games. But yeah, 6th place was a little bit of a disappointment for the end of the individual. And then we had the fun of the mass starts, which I do love.
I love the mass start.
Yeah, all the chaos.
I think because it's kind of similar to cycling in a way, is it? When they do the points race or whatever, and they.
Except, so there's one. All right. I mean, we'll talk about medals, but I have to get this off my chest. The points in the mass start, they count to qualify for the final, but you cannot accumulate enough points to change the medals. You get 60, 40, and 20 for gold, silver, bronze, and the most points you can accumulate is 9 in the sprints. So why do they bother doing the sprints in the final?
Yeah, I don't really understand it, to be honest.
Sorry, I have been waiting to say that out loud because my husband does not care. I've been waiting to say that out loud for 3 days.
I think it's always fun to see the long track speed skaters have to skate with other people and be like, oh, yes, hang on, what are you doing?
Yeah. There's tactics, and what do you mean I have to overtake you?
Yeah. The men's race was amazing, though.
Yes, I was just going to do the women's first because it wasn't as amazing. Just because finish on the men's one. Women's one, again, it was a Dutch win for Grunewald, beating Blondin of Canada. And it was, Mia Manganiello of USA, who was thrilled again to get the bronze. Again, former cyclist, so it's easy when you get these. I love it when you get these that switch. That doesn't seem to happen as much anymore, does it? They kind of... I remember Clara Hughes, the Canadian in the noughties, who literally went from Athens winning a medal on the track to Velodrome to then winning a medal in Turin. So, again, she's another one that's kind of done that switch, and she ended up getting the bronze. And then Lola Brigida, our favourite Italian, who obviously won that gold on the first day with the baby and all that, she was 4th, so she just missed out on a medal in this one. Whereas the men's I was again just love to see someone who just kind of goes for it, and it was Bergsma, the Dutch guy who's 40 years old, obviously been around a while. He's won the gold in the 10,000 back in Sochi, Obviously, he didn't win any medals last time out, so good to see him back on the podium. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm just going to go for it." And I love the fact that the Danish guy went with him, and it was like, "Yeah, but you know what, us two, we're going to do this. We're going to get a medal." And obviously, as we know, Denmark had only ever won one Olympic medal coming into these games. So for them to get their second and it to be in an event like this, where it was like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm just going to go for this," and then come away with a medal. And he was almost more thrilled than the guy who won the gold. It was just, they were both buzzing. And then it was the Italian Giovannini who ended up just getting that bronze ahead of Jordan Stoltz. So again, just to show his breadth and depth in this event, to get just miss out on a medal and finish in fourth. But yeah, it was good fun, wasn't it?
It was amazing, and they went so early on as well, and they got such a gap that Stoltz did an interview afterwards, and he said, "I think we all just unconsciously, he didn't say unconsciously, but the pack just decided not to try and reel them in because whoever let that out would get swamped then it just wasn't worth it." And then 10 minutes later, when they had the women's race, a couple of the skaters tried to do this, and the women were wise to it from the very beginning. So it's the sort of trick you can only pull once in an Olympics because other people figure it out.
It reminds me
Denmark
of
got a medal.
Yeah. It reminds me of what Jason Kenny did at the 2020 Olympics in, I believe it was the Kirin, where he just sort of went out way too early and nobody could catch him. And you think, you could never use that trick again, but he used it at the right time.
Yeah.
But that was our last event, or the last one to cover. So we have now covered every single medal event of the 2026 Winter Olympics at Milano-Cortina. So I guess it just sort of remains to discuss what was everyone's highlight of the games.
So we just get the medals table up, actually. Let's have a look at that. I just want to go through that, because obviously Norway, no one has ever got 40 medals in a Winter Olympics. I know they got finished with 41, so that was a new record set. No one had ever got in the 40s in medals. I guess there's more events these days.
Yeah.
And the most golds as well, I thought.
Yeah.
18, so 1/3 of their medal total being Klæbo, responsible for, at least in part.
He would have finished 9th in the medal table.
Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it?
And 5 million people, this is incredible, literally.
Yeah.
Just shows how much they do love it.
Phenomenally wealthy people who are supported by an enormous oil field and a sort of national investment bank that is, everyone was like, "Oh, scrappy little Norway." It's like, no, they're like one of the richest nations on the face of the planet per capita.
The fact they always do quite well in the Summer Olympics. Yeah, and they do quite well in the Summer Olympics as well. So it's not like they're like this little minnows in this sporting landscape.
I particularly like hearing the way because the American commentary about it is just like, we can't possibly hope to compete with the mighty Norwegians. So it's just and it doesn't matter how they rearrange the medal table, they are still second. That's even for amount of medals, number of silvers, color of people's hair.
Every way you can do it.
Nothing.
But the USA still did have a good games, 12 golds and 33 medals.
Yeah, very much so. And then I think obviously the Dutch were third there with 10, but I think looking at the one below Italy, they got 10 gold as well, but they got 30 medals. 30 medals for the host was huge. They're literally 10 more than the Dutch. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't like the Dutch where it's all speed skating. It was right across almost everything.
I did find it funny when we caught a glimpse of Italian TV when you and I were there, Chris, and it would be like they do a sort of recap of the previous day's events, but only the ones that Italy won medals in.
Yeah, basically.
Like watching American television, man.
Yeah. But it was like they weren't short on events because they had so many medals to cover.
Yeah.
We're going to briefly mention the Canada.
Yeah, I was going to say, literally not top 10. Canada not in the top 10 on the medal stage.
Canada and China.
Yeah, Canada 8 years ago had 29 medals, 11 gold.
But this doesn't, when I think compared to our preview, we barely mentioned Canada at all. So this doesn't surprise me. In fact, I think that they've actually exceeded what I was sort of expecting from what we were discussing 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, they got 26 medals 4 years ago, and they got 21 this time. So it's not a huge drop off, really. The gold dominance is the difference, really. 5 golds compared to 10, 11 in the past.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the spread of the golds a little bit more, aren't we? Because even like you say, the depth of Japan across a load of range of sports as well. They've only got the 5 golds as well. You mentioned China as well with 5, but they've got loads of medals, but they're just not winning the gold because I think they're the ones that are kind of being spread out a bit more. I mean, Germany, if you take out the sliding events, Germany would not be as high on this one as well. And I guess the French are pretty decently spread out across as the Swedes and the Swiss are as well. Austria
Well,
maybe
the
dropping
French,
down a little bit.
I think 50% of the French medals are biathlon.
Oh, well, yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
13
yeah,
medals in
thereabouts.
biathlon, 13 of 23,
yeah.
so over half.
Oh wow,
Wow.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, true. Yeah, they've not spread out as much as I thought then.
No, Austria good, and I think the alpine skiing really, we've seen
Yeah.
Switzerland really take over from Austria. I think
Yeah.
on a whole,
Yeah.
in the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, they literally, yeah, that's where it's dipped definitely for them, their alpine skiing program. And to be fair, even the Norwegians didn't have a great alpine skiing program either. It was just like pretty much the whole all the Swiss.
Can we just
Brazil
touch on
did,
briefly
though.
that Slovenian family who they now all have a ski jumping medal? Because what a great story.
yes.
Yeah.
The Trayaxes, yes.
Yeah, that's a fantastic story for, I think, for the Olympics as a whole, especially for a nation that's not as prominent as well within the games. So,
I mean, the Prevailing family are the Slovenian ski jumping team. That's it. Like it's like a little family enterprise.
the Ingebrigtsen, no, maybe not.
No, it's
I'm just a little bit annoyed that Australia just beat us in the medals table because there's always this rivalry between us and Australia, and it's like, damn it, with their 6 medals and their 1 extra silver.
The ashes of the Winter Olympics, but I think we
A
can.
rivalry I've never ever understood in my life, but I've had Australian friends say to me, "Oh, thank God we beat Britain." I'm like, "Oh, I've never even thought about you." But okay, maybe that's my Scottish side.
But it does mean you've got some very odd like comparators on the medal table. Brazil finished ahead of Finland,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
We called him out, the Brazilian Norwegian steer, didn't we? We mentioned
Oh,
him
yeah.
during the
Yeah.
preview. So
I mean, I
he
expected him
did.
to win the medal in the slalom rather than the giant slalom, but that was the one he
Yes, I agree.
totally dominated the giant slalom, and that's definitely one of my highlights because there were so many Brazilians in Cortina, not just because obviously there was
Really?
skeleton.
Okay.
They had a woman in the skeleton as well, and so there was a bit
Nicole
of
Silveira.
yeah, exactly. There was a few Brazilians around, so it was good to see them all go a bit mad for for their man.
But of course,
He
it is-
also had the best. He had the best coat in the opening ceremony. It was just that pure white coat, and then he opened it up,
So
and there's
good.
the whole "What do I put a grass off right?" It was really cool.
Well, I love him. I think I've been obsessed with him for quite a few years because he's just so different to any other skier. He wears nail varnish. He wears his fancy outfits. He's on the cover of like Vogue magazine. He's like very kind of like, I'm just not going to be the macho kind of male skier. And then also I loved as well. I don't know if you saw that he went to watch the Big Air, and then he decided to just slide down the Big Air on his belly. He went all the way down on his belly. It's a great video on his socials if you want to watch that.
I saw somebody doing that. I didn't realize it was him.
Yes, it was him.
Saw quite a lot of the ski technicians doing that, just like bombing down, as it were.
Yeah, as soon as it's over, like let's go slide down the big slide.
But then
Also, just something we mentioned earlier as well. Georgia got their first ever medal at the Winter Olympics in the skating that we mentioned in the preview, that they had a good
It was
chance,
a-
and
was
they
it-
did.
Was it a Russian though?
it was.
Yeah.
I do wonder how this is being celebrated in Georgia. Is it a case of
Carefully, I imagine.
yeah? But
That was really clear in the figure skating and the ice dancing. Not just that there's a lot of Russian transplants, but the complete, like, everyone just seems to change country
yeah.
every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I've got a different partner. I've got a different coach. There doesn't seem to be any fidelity whatsoever.
Yeah, that woman that's been in 4 different teams, I think it was.
Yes, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
that sound. It's like once is unfortunate, twice is coincidence. If you've had to change 4 times, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I will say, in defense of the Georgian team, the Georgian male athlete is Georgian parentage.
okay.
Okay, very good.
But yeah.
And obviously, the Kazakh guy who won the gold, I was like, the biggest shock. He's actually from Kazakhstan.
I did wonder that watching the short track speed skating in particular, an athlete from Uzbekistan, and I always was like, are you really from Uzbekistan?
Yeah, exactly.
There was the query, yeah, I had.
Oh, it was the Uzbek guy who's got an amazing surname, Ibog. Yes, he's stood out for us as well. I think outside of the medal table, I mentioned him earlier on, but my performer of the games didn't get a medal, but I just got Andrew Musgrove. for British cross-country skiing, it barely exists. To get 3 top 10 places is just 3 top 6 places is really, really remarkable. There's almost no funding. It's all self-done, and yeah, really, really good.
Also, that my friend used to do a bit of physio for him and his team out in Norway. So also, I was delighted to see him end on a high after a great career, really. And again, like you said, just taking a sport that doesn't exist and actually giving it not just a credible performance, but an incredible performance.
Well, is he
on the
definitely
global stage.
is he definitely retiring? Or I thought it was still kind of open ended that he might.
Unclear. Posey was saying, Posey, like I call her Posey, like with big mates, was saying in the last thing that that it hasn't been discussed, and that he is getting on, and it's not an older fella's game. The cross country skiing. A couple of the Norwegians who got medals were like, I'm done. I've got my medal. I need to stop doing cross country skiing now. I'm very, very tired. But whether he will or not,
but when you've had your best Olympics, you do kind of, there must be that thought of, well, I'm doing better than I ever have. So
or end on that high.
Well, that's it. It's like, I guess it's the Dave Riding thing, isn't it? Like he said after, he's like, I hung on for 1 year too long, but that's just because it was the Olympics. He finished 6th at the World Champs last year. That would have been a perfect way to go out, but he was like, I can't not. And his body was like, no, 1 year was too much for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a bit like, and it was my disappointment with the Olympics that Dorothea Vera in the biathlon, the Italian who wanted to retire, I think 2 years ago, and just was, impelled by various incentives to stay on for the 2 years. And she did all right. She had a really good pursuit coming from 44th to 5th, but she's gone home with 1 relay medal and no individual medals. And, she had a lovely celebration at the end of it with Franziska Preuss, who also retired. But it was, again, probably a reach too far for her to get an individual medal.
Yeah, I think my disappointment was kind of similar was Scotty James in the men's halfpipe, because he says this was his 5th Olympics, and he was obviously started as a 15-year-old representing Australia in Vancouver, and he was like, he'd won his bronze, he'd won his silver, and it looked like this was going to be his moment. He's literally won everything there is to win in halfpipe apart from the Olympic gold, and some would say his run was good enough for the gold, if you know which commentator you want to listen to. But yeah, he fell short, and you can see he was gutted because there's been massive hype. He's had a whole Netflix documentary about his journey to this Olympics, and he's a big name. And and he's like, I think he was ready to retire because he's just become a dad and he's got married, and it's like, but I think now he's like, I'll see you in 4 years. He's kind of hinting at, and it's like, okay, you'll be quite old, but you never know, it could happen.
I think everyone wants to end on their own terms, and I think if you manage to peak at the Olympics and do that, that's the best of everything. Johannes Lochner for Germany, he announced beforehand he was going to retire, and he got that gold finally, getting the one over Francesco Friedrich, and now he can retire gold medalist forever.
I guess.
Well, it's a question they're asking about Klæbo as well, which is what he's won everything. He won everything at the last World Championships as well last year. It's like, where is the motivation to continue this incredibly punishing schedule of sport if you've already won it? All he can do now is do worse. All he can do now is lose. And he's definitely got a target on his back, not the biathlon, just the for other cross-country skiers.
Yeah, I guess Alana Myers-Taylor is another one who you expect to retire now because she has done it. And it's like, I think that was definitely my feel-good story of the, it was just, you've done it. You got your gold.
Especially for her in the monobob, where she's not been the best in the monobob. Sorry, I know you talked about her in the week, but yeah, delightful that she managed to grab that moment and take that, where it's been a struggle to get used to that event for her, as it has been for a lot of the athletes. But thrilled for her. She's been a pioneer of the sport for so many reasons, and not many women have piloted a 4-person bob. She's one of them, and for her to then get that medal, and for it to be a solo medal as well, I think after being through so much team events, to do that on your own, completely on your own, at 41 and get that gold, incredible.
And there was something I found quite sweet about her getting it on the last run, even though it feels like she snatched the medal from somebody else, but it was the inverse of Sochi, where she lost that medal on the last run, and then this time she managed to come through and clutch performance basically.
Yeah, I guess never were all right.
I guess Janine Flott was another one who kind of did that, like having gone from first to fourth in Pyeongchang, and then to get the gold here was great.
Incredible and delight. Obviously, Janine, I mentioned before, she works really closely with the British team as well. So she's almost like a fourth British sled. And yeah, for her to have gone through the numerous trials she has had at the Olympics, being that she's the most successful slider on the World Cup circuit, yeah, thrilled for her to actually achieve that and get what she deserved.
Yeah, there's always filled with medals and gold, isn't there? These every Olympics, she's like it's happy when it does work out.
I tell you what was also nice, and I mentioned this in the preview, and I think this was part of the way this. I think we all agree this has been a hugely successful games. I think like the atmosphere, the culture of it has been great, apart from some double poking and the occasional swearing from some of our Canadian friends. The total absence of Russians, I think, really changes the atmosphere of it, particularly in the sports I follow most closely, biathlon and cross country skiing, where there's always been a pall hanging over them. Everyone knows that they are cheating. It was known, you couldn't prove it. With absent them there, there's a certain lightness to things without that. And I think that is not, it's difficult to sort of prove the negative, but I think it's definitely had an impact right across the games.
Yeah, I think from a European point of view, being in Europe and it being on the right time zone for us all to watch, it was great to put the TV on at 9 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and it was wall to wall Olympics every day. I'm quite relieved to get my life back. I'm not going to lie, because I've literally just watched everything.
I don't know what I'm going to watch tonight. Now I'm going to have to watch the Great Pottery Throwdown or something.
I know. I'm like, where's the Olympics going? I'm like, it's always been great to watch every night. But and then the TV viewing figures have been great. Like BBC pretty much every day has been averaging around 2 million for the evening slot, peaking in the threes, and obviously for the curling in the fives. So it's like millions of people have tuned. I think like you mentioned, like no one. I think this is the one that's grabbed the wider public's attention more than especially the last few, maybe even more than Sochi. So it's been, and the fact that we've got the British success has kind of led that as well. The fact that it has been Britain's most successful Winter Olympics ever, with not just with the obviously we said we wanted 6 medals and we got 5, and we got the 5 fourth places, which kind of is a bit annoying, but the 3 golds and the 24 top 10s, like for that depth across a wide range of sports is pretty amazing.
Just from obviously Chris, Alex, you were out there yourselves. Anything on the ground yourself that you loved in particular about the games from being there?
Well, the whole atmosphere in the town was amazing. Obviously, we were only in Cortina, which only had sliding, women's alpine, and curling, but it did just feel that everybody was there for one reason, and people were there from all different countries. And I've never been to I've never been to a Winter Olympics before. The Olympics I've been to have been in massive cities, and it was really nice to have that atmosphere condensed into one small town, really.
That's what I'd say. It was the most intimate games experience I've had. And the fact that it was because it was just those 3 events, but it was still the Olympics, and it was Cortina was so like walkable. Everywhere's walkable. Like the fan zone was accessible. We went to the Swiss House, which was amazing. It was free to get in. They gave you a lint ball on entry. It was amazing. And there was a big screen.
There's a boy one in life: a free lint ball and the women's downhill. It's
you watch it on a big screen. It was great. And obviously the flag that Alex has got behind him, that was on literally every single house, hotel, office building in Cortina. Even we realised all the shops on the high street had adopted a country. They had that country's flag in their windows. So it was they did such a good job of making it what was a small place. But I think because it's a historic place that they've had the Olympics before. Obviously, the curling venue was the old figure skating, ice hockey venue from '56, and then a lot of even the pizza restaurant we went to every single night was like a sports one. It was an Olympic restaurant. They had every single Olympic torch in there. They had a set of skis signed by Lindsey Vonn. It was like, obviously it was a proper Olympic area, and I feel like they embraced it as much as we do, and I don't think there was anybody that was disappointed it was there.
Yeah, and it was that restaurant we only went to because it was the only place that was open on our first evening.
Yeah. It was great. It was like, and a lot of
back.
Yeah, and there were loads of athletes came in there as well. It was a good, it was such a good atmosphere. Just for that, like I say, only 3 events there, and obviously I don't like the fact that the Olympics are now getting spread out over loads of different places. But when you do go to a cluster, it was great to still have that Olympic vibe there.
That's great. I actually do like the dispersal of the Olympic within a reasonable geographic area, because I think what you do get is that you can have a sort of smaller, more manageable experience than it's not just, it's in London or something. I think it will be interesting to see if the same sort of thing when we're back in 4 years' time, if the French Alps has that, because that's going to be very, very scattered. And I think the Winter Olympics are able to do that because a lot of these ski resort towns are very pretty, very nice. They're built for tourists. There's a certain level of niceness to them all.
I think also going to the French Alps, looking at the spread of the regions, it's not actually going to be that dissimilar to the Italian geographic region. Given that it was very much marketed as Milano-Cortina, whereas at least the French Alps are very, very open in the fact it is about the entire French Alps.
And also Nice for some reason.
And also Nice, yeah. Which I've now learned in French on the map. I was like, oh, Nice, yeah, okay.
Nice. Well, we've done another 2 hours, gentlemen.
Yes, we have. We love it.
Perhaps ran a bit longer than we intended, but it's been a delight speaking to you all, and thanks for joining us on your post-Olympic Monday evening.
This is like my methadone from the heroin of the Olympics. This is getting me slowly off it.
Great games. Thanks for trying again. I've been delighted to see that Discovery Plus still has the stuff to watch back. So anything that I've missed, I can catch up on. But no, are really good games, and I'm glad you enjoyed your experience out there. And great British success. Look forward to the next 4 years.
I highly recommend going to Winter Olympics. I think we should all try and go next time. It's not far, just down the road.
Oh yeah, definitely. Andy Musgrave, the sports personality of the year. That's what I'm finishing on.
And on that topic, thank you for listening. Hope you, viewer/listener, have enjoyed these Olympics as much as we have. And we hope you will join us again soon to discuss another sporting event. See you soon.